Let's be honest, every Forsaken player has that one killer they love to complain about. Some complain about how unstoppable a killer is, some complain about how the killer is so awful and needs 20 million buffs. So today we're going to be putting all the worst killers on blast, and trust me, they are the worst. Your opinion is wrong, mine's right. I'm going to explain why. We will break down why they fail, their glaring weaknesses, and just for fun, how they can be buffed without ruining the game. Anyways, let's get into it. We're going to start with our worst killer actually, which is Slasher. If you were to ask any Forsaken player about Slasher, they'd probably say Mr. Pub Stomping Man in the flesh. There's nothing a Slasher player can do if your team has coordination. Here's the problem, right? So his kit's not broken, it's very undertuned. Gashing Wound does hit hard, but the cooldown is way too long compared to other heavy hitting moves. Also, it's a lot easier to miss compared to like Walk Speed Override, all that jazz. Raging Pace is a good option, but like doesn't carry the kit as much as it has to. And Behead is an alright tool, but like it doesn't solve anything. It's just a chase ender and option to like punish noob if he slates against you. The core weaknesses to Slasher is needs the tunnel to get actual kills, which is fair enough. It is Slasher's game style, but Slasher is exceptionally weak to sandbags. You know what? If I get permission, I'm just going to show an example of Slasher not even be able to get a single hit because of sandbags with a Raging Pace. I hope I got permission for that because it really shows how weak Slasher is. Slasher loses to Noob N7, 2-timing Elliot, or Builder if you swap out Elliot for that. I know the clip had Shadlensky, but that's because they were still testing the balancing, and also that was actually too strong for Slasher. Can't have Shadlensky, no, that would kill him. Anyways, next, supportive teammates also just generally completely shut him down. Any support, like full hard counters, and maybe besides Taff, just because you can hit a subspace and tripper at the same time if they're stacked on each other, but like you shouldn't do that anyway. And then characters like V have amazing survivability against him and can push him back. Any loss of distance in a chase of Slasher is even more punishing considering all you have to catch up is Raging Pace. If you don't catch up with Raging Pace, you're done for. Like you need to wait 30 seconds. My suggestion for how to buff Slasher is basically the same as Crafts in that one video, which is, increase Raging Pace walk speed by like 0.5, reduce the M1 end lag, and also make Behead 25 damage. Still probably not going to use Behead over M1, but at least it's not as much weaker than M1 as it was before, if you get my drift. Moving on to what I would consider the second worst killer in the game, which is Nos Fatu, who really splits the community. Some swear by, oh my god, he's broken, please save me! Then others call him absolutely awful. I think the core of Nos Fatu is he has decentish tools, but none of them really synergize to like do enough. To start with him, we have Bloodhook, which is basically just weaker entanglement. You throw your projectile out across the map in real and survivors. If they're super far, it's actually better than entanglement if you land it, but the issues are it has high end lag and also it requires you to beat the survivor in a rhythm game. So that's cool. We went from 1x entanglement rhythm game to Nos Fatu rhythm game. How fun. And then when you reel them in, there's not much to do besides M1. There's no other synergies. And then, okay, second move we have Cataclysm, which is basically John Doe Spikes light. Cataclysm, instead of spawning spike walls you can't go through, it gives you slowness when you go through them. So the effect of this is area denial, but you can go through it if you need, meaning you're not as zoned as you would be against a John Doe. Meaning if you do a perfect trap as Nos Fatu, the survivor can just walk and they only tank like an M1 and then they're fine, they're out of there. And this also just really synergizes with any moves. Technically, if you pull a survivor into the trail while you use Bloodhook, that's a synergy, I guess. But besides from that, there's nothing that really ties into broader in the moveset. Our third move, we have Hunter's Feast. It makes Nos Fatu invisible and detectable and gives you creatures, does 5 damage. That's literally all. You take more damage from like attacks while you have creatures. You can't hear chase themes. I think you can't. I don't really know. It's really weird. I don't care about the move. It's useless. Bad. I mean, there's nothing wrong about it, but like, you just throw it out because you can, not because this is going to win the chase. Then we have Nos Fatu's pivotal move, his move, his strong hitting move and distance tool, which is Ascension. Ascension falls short in so many ways, and it's really sad to see. Ascension allows you to catch up to survivors without using your stamina and do, but think it's something around 35 damage when you hit them with it. You can also just dismount so you don't have any end lag, so you can just start chase on a survivor that way. And that's it for the moves. Now, let's get into the issues with Nos Fatu, and there's a big one. As I've already said through the section, there's like no synergy in this kit at all. All the moves are decent moves, but they need moves that like tie into each other. Bloodhook and Cataclysm are the only possible synergy. If you use Cataclysm and then Ascension, what's the point? Just run up and catch up. If you use Ascension and Hunter's Feast together, it's like, okay, you might do some more damage, but the issue with Ascension is it's so mind gameable. Instead of like normal 50-50s where you can either go left, right, or keep going where you are. It's not really 50-50, but you know. Unlike the usual gambling, you can go left, right, up, down, anywhere you want. You could not move. There's so much that Nos Fatu has to account for a worse than a mass infection. But it's worse than a mass infection because the cooldown's as long as a gashing wound. And it's almost worse than a gashing wound because you can be stunned on the end lag if you catch a survivor. You throw the survivor away, you're stuck in the end lag, and Shedlansky can come up and you're stunned. It makes you really ponder what they were thinking while making the moveset. There's a reason Nos Fatu came out so fast, is because they couldn't think of what to do. He's a nice option to have to pick in the game. He's fun, but like it doesn't really tie into a broader moveset. He has the all-rounder title for real. So I have some ideas on how to balance him. So what I would say is, first of all, make sure that Ascension, if you hit someone, you have stun immunity like you have on Gashing Wound. There's no reason you should not have stun immunity after it. Why can you hit a move that does less damage than Gashing Wound on the same cooldown and get stunned after it? Anyway, so the proposed synergy buffs I would do is if you hit someone with Hunter's Feast while they have creatures and all, if you go into Ascension, they get like a 10%, 20% movement speed penalty, so they're 10% slower, 20% slower, only while you're in Ascension, so that it's harder to dodge, so like they kind of synergize together better. And then if you use Bloodhook while standing on a Cataclysm, if you use it while standing on a Blood Puddle from Cataclysm, it should give you an easier time reeling in, like you should have more leniency on the minigame and all. Also, last buff, just give his M1 the extra 1 damage. Why does it have to be 24? Why does he need 5 hits to kill? He's already a second worst killer. That's it for Nos Fatu. Very disappointing killer in terms of bouncing. I thought he'd be even better than John Doe, but he just ends up sadly at the second worst spot as a killer. Nollie is a killer where honestly the outcome of the map is basically decided in the first minute or two. I mean, a minute or two might even be an overstatement. A minute to a minute and 30 seconds. There's a big reality check on Nollie, which is the match is even decided possibly on the first second of the round when you load into the map. A lot of killers are very map dependent, but Nollie is one where it's super that case. And what I mean by this is a lot of maps have loops where Nollie just cannot do anything in any reasonable amount of time. If a map has a loop where you don't have Void Rush pressure or Nova pressure, or at least enough of it, you lose. That's just how it is. Maps like Cool Carnival has one of these. I'd say Classic Battlegrounds has one. Beach House you could debate on, etc. Cake Factory has one. I mean, before Nollie's recent buff, Nollie had literally like 0 good maps in this game, maybe besides Pirate Bay and maybe Brandon Works, depending on who you ask. Nollie also has the second weakest M1 in the game. When you teleport, for some reason it leaves a trail. Nothing about being a trickster or tricking the survivors, it doesn't work, because if you play at least like 5 rounds against Nollie, you're gonna like pick up on how it works, and then like a day into playing against Nollie, you already know, you know it's a hallucination or not. There's gonna be those rare times where fake Nollie tricks you up, but besides from the rare times, it's just not happening. So you're really just left with if you can get Nova value and if you can get Void Rush value, which again, a lot of loops do not let you do this. So my proposal for how to maybe fix this would be, first of all, You give Nollie a base walk speed increase from 7.5 to 8, so Nollie doesn't lose as much distance when needing to walk. This is especially important when you again consider Nollie has the second weakest M1 in the game. I also think when you hit Nova, this will tie into my third change, it should give you hallucination 1 for 15 seconds. Also, third change actually would be hallucinations interactions. I think when you hit a survivor with hallucination, it should only take away their hallucination if they have hallucination 2 or 3. If they have hallucination 1, they do not lose it and it acts as a normal aura read. This should hopefully be able to bring us more in line with the other killers in the game. I also think just for consistency's sake, every single fake generator on the map should spawn in. Because as it is, if you're on a bigger map, it's basically RNG based. And if you get the gens that are useful to teleport to, and if you get the gens that are not so useful. Just to fix Nollie's catch-up issue, this would need to be tested out a lot. But I think Nollie should have an extra ability to where for every survivor who has hallucination, when you teleport to a generator, you should get an extra speed 1 bonus for up to 6 seconds. For every survivor with hallucination, when you teleport, you should get 1 second to 1.5 seconds of speed. This means if you teleport on a gen near a survivor, they actually get... Now, I have to be clear, this is highly theoretical. I haven't tested this, so this could, if you tried this could go absolutely awful. Nollie could just become a demon. But I hope, in theory, it should, including the end lag and the speed, you should only be able to get an M1 if they're in a bad position. If they're in a good position, you should have a good chase. It also rewards you more for chaining with your Void Rush compared to just slamming the one person. Because if you get a good chain, you slam and then you teleport, that's an insane advantage. As you can either chase normally or you can teleport and quick drop someone else with that. It really just forces survivors to respect you as the threat on the map. Because as it is, Nollie is a joke a lot of the time. There's nothing, only thing Nollie can really do is hope that you get a good Void Rush in, and if you get a good Void Rush in, that might be a kill. The second the survivors get that first minute of breathing room, if you don't have someone on their last legs, you're probably not going to do very well unless they make a grave mistake, which is something a killer should not need to completely rely on not to suck. A universal change I wish could be made to the game is that survivor weight is lower, meaning that killers can't get sandbagged as much, so you're more reliant on actual support. Because what do you mean I can run into the killer and they lose a bunch of distance? Because this works on Nollie and Nos Fatu, just to be clear. They're just not nearly as weak to it, but they're still weak to it. If Nollie doesn't have Void Rushing and gets lucky with a cool play off it, yeah, you just lose distance, and especially with Nollie's speed, it still is pretty harming. But unfortunately that can't be done because of interactions like walk, speed override, charge, bumper. But just in general, that would be a nice change, but obviously it can't go in here. Anyways, time to move on into the conclusion. Slasher is undertuned, Nos Fatu's inconsistent, Nollie is a map check. Each one falls in unique ways, but there is a underlying issue with all of Forsaken and balancing killers. This game is deeply survivor-sided and only gets worse by the updates besides the 1x rework, which I was so wrong about. I wish I got better players tested it with comp players, oh my god. But these were some buffs that I think could bring the killers up just a notch. They still won't be the best, but it's something at least. But at the end of the day, you must remember, bad doesn't mean that they're boring. It just means there's room for them to be improved so that they're more on the level of the top killers. Anyways, that's about it. See ya.